Warmly welcoming you to How Does She Do It, the podcast, with me, your host, Jo Ferroni. Join me on my journey as I explore finding a gentle balance in both business and life, because being kind to ourselves is our superpower. In today's episode, I chat with the inspiring Gabi Brown, founder of the Leopard Mind, who shares her remarkable journey from fashion PR professional to transformative life guide and sound healer. Gabi relays her early career in fashion PR, where she navigated the challenges of being a quieter personality in an industry dominated by big, flamboyant voices. While she loved the relationship-building aspects of her work and flourished in marketing and creative writing, she found herself increasingly drained as the role shifted towards a sales-driven focus that left little room for creativity. We explore how Gabi had already begun planting seeds of change by training as a beauty therapist at night school while still working full-time, eventually launching her own mobile beauty business. This venture became her permission slip to prove she didn't have to exist in the traditional 9-to-5 world, and when she finally left her corporate role in 2018, she discovered something unexpected. Working one-to-one with clients created profound opportunities for connection, and she found herself naturally offering emotional support alongside her beauty services. Gabi shares the beautiful synchronicity of how she first experienced a sound bath, inspiring her to train as a transformative life guide and sound healer, drawing deeply from her own lived experience. We delve into fascinating concepts, including neuroplasticity and the brain's remarkable capacity for change, using affirmations effectively, and the concept of vibration and how everything is constantly in motion. So whether you're feeling stuck in a career that no longer serves you, curious about alternative healing, or ready to embrace your own capacity for transformation, Gabi's honest storytelling and holistic wisdom offer both inspiration and practical tools for creating meaningful change. Enjoy the show. Did you know that I have a range of free resources over on my website, from networking tips to habit trackers and the benefits of co-working to starting your own podcast? If you'd like to dip into these topics and more without paying a penny, then head on over to howdoesshedoit.life today and hit the free stuff tab. Simple and easy to follow and digest. They might just give you the nudge you need as you move on with or even start your own business. Head to the show notes for an easy link to take you directly there, and do let me know how you find them. Our sponsor today is Dr. Beth Dawson, a communication and body language expert with over 20 years experience in the field of communication sciences. Beth helps parents and professionals decode what's not being said through a blend of empathy, science, and emotional intelligence, enabling parents of teenagers and female entrepreneurs to improve communication, whether in relationships or public speaking. Beth's signature course, Creating Connections, The Art of Understanding Teens, launches again on November the 13th, an online course of 6 live group sessions and 2 one-to-one coaching sessions. It's the perfect way to better understand your teenager and build calm, confident communication at home. If you're looking to build trust and reduce conflict, this is the course for you, as you discover how to communicate in a way that builds empathy, reduces tension, and deepens your relationship. Beth is kindly offering How Does She Do It podcast listeners 10% off all of her services, including this course, plus an additional one-to-one coaching session. So simply drop her an email via mail@drbethdawson.com, quoting code HDSDI. Her email and the code are also shown in the show notes for your ease. Gabi, welcome to the podcast. It's absolutely gorgeous to have you on my screen today, and know that we're going to have a beautiful conversation, although we're going to try not to talk all over each other because we get very excited in each other's company, but we want to give you the best possible audio experience, everyone, today. So we're going to do our best not to be too excitable. Welcome, Gabi.
Thank you so much, Jo. So lovely to be here. Lovely to see you and to be able to, speak a little bit deeper together and share some gems, which will hopefully help and support your incredible audience. So thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. I'm really looking forward to this because I feel there are parts of the journey that I don't necessarily know about, actually. And though we've known each other for nearly 6 years now, since you first came to my event in Guildford, you travelled a long way with Emily to come to my Guildford event. And I should also add that at that event, both Gabi and Emily begged me to come and start networking events in their area. And that is how the East Surrey events were born. So it's all thanks to Gabi and Emily that we have what has now become the Epsom branch of How Does She Do It? And so, like I say, we've known each other for quite a while now, but I feel that there are parts of the story that I'm yet to know, and I'm very excited to delve into them today. So I would love us to sort of rewind a little bit back to the beginning of your career. And we don't need to spend ages on this, but I think it's really important to kind of set the scene for people tuning in today. You worked in PR, marketing and e-commerce for 14 years. Can you give us an idea of what that looked like and perhaps more importantly, what that felt like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I began my, real career in the world of fashion PR. I'd studied fashion design and marketing and promotion at London College of Fashion, which I absolutely loved, but along with the love of it became quite just that sort of often a challenging creative environment and all different kinds of people and characters, which was actually like a great intro to a warm up to my future career. So yeah, working in like PR, obviously there's a lot of vibrant, loud, beautiful, amazing, flamboyant characters, but being more of I would say a quieter person, but I'm, vocal and myself around people that I feel comfortable with. But even at that time, just feeling that sort of, not the disconnect, but learning how to balance working with such bold characters when I myself perhaps didn't come across as the most confident person in the in the room. My voice was never the loudest, and that was a trend that continued through my career. And really having to work on my confidence and be able to, by the end of my career, be able to stand in the boardroom and actually present, to like senior management and present our sales reports and goodness knows everything. So I loved working in a creative environment. From whether I started in fashion, it was really exciting to be around all the, the new launches, working with the buyers, seeing their samples. Not so fun when you're trying to chase, that one sample to come back from a journalist that sent it off on a trip to Barbados and they didn't bother to mention that to you. But again, building relationships has been like a huge part of my career and something I love to do, and found it really supportive because when you know who you could ring in the fashion cupboard and sort of say, please, can you send it back? I'll send it back, get my sample back, the buyer's chewing my tail. Yeah, it's really helped. And again, sort of then moving from PR into marketing, working with the marketing teams, again, I've always been quite that sort of relationship orientated, which I've since come to learn is also a big part of as Joe, I'm a big fan of astrology. It's a massive part of my life. And I have a lot of Venus in my chart, and Venus rules beauty, creativity, art, all of those things. And it's just fascinating when I look back and I'm like, oh, okay, this all makes so much sense to me now. So yeah. And then by the end of my career, where I knew that wasn't where I wanted to be anymore, what had begun as a really fun creative role, where it was like the creative marketing side, I was doing a lot of partnerships with other brands, creating content for newsletters, I was writing copy, like doing designing shoots with some of the other teams. It was so exciting, and it was a great way for me to express myself and help, the brands hit their sales targets. But by the time I left, my role had evolved such into a heavily sales. Basically, if you hadn't hit your sales target, it was like, well, then we're not interested in all the other stuff, So what was very creative, I then just felt like I was a moving, walking, talking spreadsheet and doing PowerPoint presentations of all the things we could do, but you've just halved my budget. So yeah, there was a lot of challenges during my career.
It sounds as though there were many opportunities for you to step out of your comfort zone. You talked about how by the end you were in the boardroom presenting. That's huge, especially for someone who is slightly quieter in a very loud and flamboyant environment. And also, I love how the relationships side of things has just been a constant thread throughout your career and also into your career now, which we're obviously going to get onto in a moment. But it makes so much sense. And I also find it quite sad that the creativity almost was sort of squeezed out of that role, that more recent role that you were in. And I should imagine that a lot of people will relate to that, because we go into a job, a position, and then these things can change. And just like we can change and evolve as human beings, so can roles. But when a role in an employed job is changing, you're not necessarily in control of that change, are you? And I feel that it just changed so much that your love for it and your ability to create within it was a bit sort of sucked away.
Absolutely. And I think sort of layer on that at the time as well, me changing myself. And you talked about relationships, but I think the most important relationship throughout that whole career journey was the one with myself. And just you talking about that's made me realize, and that was one of the biggest parts of the work, building my confidence in that role around challenging characters. And you try and speak up and you get spoken down. And then, I'd retreat into my shower and just sit there and think, well, you're not listening to me. So where's the point in me sharing my opinion? But then it was that realization that actually it was really important that I did, because you might be the general manager, but I am like the specialist in my area, and I've been doing this for a really long time and I know my stuff. But just because I'm working in an online environment, I can't just go and press a button and change stuff on the website, I need to work with the developers and everybody. So it was really coming back to that, like who I was, and remembering that my voice mattered, and finding a way that I could start to try and bring that a little bit more into work. Yeah.
I think it's really interesting when you said that, you knew you were the specialist in that area. What I thought you were going to say, and by the way, I've had goosebumps all the time in the last few minutes. What I thought you were going to say, which I think you could add to, is that you are the specialist in yourself as well. So as you were saying, you got to know more about yourself and what your needs and your wants were. And actually, who is any manager to tell you what you are or what you're not? And I think that that's where us as business owners can really deep dive into who we are as human beings, what really matters to us, what are our values, and we can really work with that rather than having that kind of squashed down and made insignificant by someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think even though I kind of knew that I was the specialist in my area, I also doubted that fact a lot, and I would second guess myself. And working with such big, overpowering characters for such a long time, and knowing deep in my heart I wasn't where I wanted to be. I knew I had more to give, but at the time I didn't. I just thought there has to be more to work than this. And I'd lost so much of myself in that corporate environment. I had to wear black for work, which, as you know, I am a very colourful chameleon now. And even that every day, putting black on, it can be quite sombre. While it can look beautifully chic and classic and timeless, for me, I just felt that sombre vibes, which, lowered my vibration. And I just lost such a part of myself, even in that, even though I knew I could do my job. I knew I was good at it, which at the time I wouldn't have had the confidence to say that. But it's just that returning and coming back to myself and starting to, I suppose, prioritize me, or even just start thinking about, well, what would you like for dinner? What music do you want to listen to? Because I couldn't even make a decision on what I wanted, which also then goes back to being told I want never gets when I grew up. So that's like that intrinsic, all those imprints we have and that ways of being from how we've grown up, which again is a huge part of my work, and getting to understand me on a different level. And, like working with people and realizing that their go-to thoughts perhaps might not even be their own. It's something they've acquired during their life journey.
Very much so. We carry so much of that messaging that we heard throughout our younger years, and it's not until we really start to explore that we recognize, well, maybe that doesn't serve me anymore. It feels like you had so much that was limiting you and restricting you, even just down to having to wear black when, it didn't lift you up. I'd love to ask you if there was a defining moment when you decided to leap into something that you'd been doing on the side for a little while, your mobile beauty business. You decided to do it full time. Was that a really quick decision, or how did it come about?
I would say yes and no. It's something I'd thought about for such a long, long time. I went and did my beauty training. I went to night school while I was in my 9 to 5 in 2011. And I was like, right, this is it. I'm going to leave corporate. I want to be my own boss. I want more freedom. I want to be able to express myself. And most importantly, making more of a difference in the world by helping people feel themselves and feeling amazing with their nails are done. Everything else might be falling apart, but when your nails are painted, you can take on the world. And I really wanted to be able to share that with more people because it had helped me so much during my wobbly corporate days. But it really was that moment of, it was New Year's Eve 2017, and I thought to myself, I cannot still be sitting at this desk this time next year. Like, I could feel my soul draining out of me every day when I got in the lift to go up to work. And I made that decision there and then that in 12 months' time, I would have left my corporate role and I would have taken my beauty business full time. I'd been running my business alongside my corporate role probably for the best part of 18 months. So it was in the days where you still commuted 5 days to London. So I was commuting to London. I was coming home. I would have nail clients at least 2 evenings a week and a Saturday. And I was doing that for a long, long time. I'm wondering why I was a little bit tired and exhausted on top of my, adrenal fatigue and all the other joys that working in the wrong environment gave to, welcomed into my life. Yeah. And I just decided that enough is enough. Like, I'm giving myself 12 months. I've thought about this. I've written things down. I've done plans. I've done this, but I hadn't made the decision. So I had to make the decision. And I was like, that's it, 12 months and I'm going to leave. And I handed my notice in the July, had a 3-month notice period, which was also a surprise because I thought it was 1, but worked out in the best possible way. So if you are thinking about jumping out of your career, please check your notice period. I left in the October. And so, it was like 9-10 months. And here we are 7 years later and leaping into my next business.
Before we go there, I just want to really take a moment to celebrate you making that decision, you giving yourself that goal. I really admire it. And I know that there are going to be people out there listening, whether they are in a corporate role or whether they're doing their own thing and they've got something that they just want to change or they desperately want to do, but they're doing all the planning. And you spoke to that, you'd done all the things, you'd put all the things in place, you just had to almost push the button and that was going to be the big change. So thank you for sharing that as you did, because I think it's incredibly useful for people to hear. And so, of course, I feel like you've been going on a voyage of discovery to find yourself. And then at some point, you're going to tell us about this, you began training to be a transformative life guide and sound healer. So how did this journey emerge and end up at this point?
Amazing question. Big answer, possibly. But I think when I left corporate, I knew deep in my bones that my nail business wouldn't be my forever business. And that's okay. But that, like my nail business, which I still absolutely love to pieces and I'm actually really proud of, it was like my permission and my first big leap to prove to myself that I didn't have to be in the matrix, in that 9 to 5 grey, you must work 5 days a week, you must, adhere to how life has always been done. So that was like my first big leap, and that proved to myself that I can do it. So during my 7+ years of painting nails at the nail desk, it's a very intimate space. You're one-to-one with someone and I'm head down looking at your nails painting. And I feel so honoured that people choose to share a lot of their life with me. Like, so many secrets, so many big moments have been shared with me over the nail desk, and also, you know, tears, joy, laughter, all of the things. And that feels like such a privilege to have that space with people. So during these last years working one-to-one, there have been some really deep and meaningful conversations. And for me, it was like I'm guiding people, I'm helping, and I'm giving them, you know, that support while I'm painting their nails, which is what they're there for. But it was igniting that, again, that curiosity, that possibility of, how could I more deeply help and support people who are potentially in the same position I am? Like, I speak to so many people that are not happy at work, or they just know there's something not quite right in life and they want to feel like themselves again, you know, because you've lost that sparkle. You kind of think, well, what would I do for fun? What would I do if I had a day to myself, an hour to myself? You know, we get so lost along the way sometimes because a lot of us prioritize and have other commitments, other people in our life that need support, and we so often forget about our wonderful selves. So yeah, I was, you know, supporting and helping, guiding people at the nail desk. And then as part of my, I suppose, my spiritual development, my own spiritual journey, just learning different things along the way and just knowing that I really want to be able to support and help and guide other people more deeply. And sound healing, kind of, I stumbled over, I suppose. I went to, I don't know if you remember the big full moon installation they did at the Natural History Museum, where it's the massive, massive illuminated moon. So I went to that, and it was like yoga under the moon. So I went and did yoga under the moon, which was the most incredible experience. But at the end, there was like a 10-minute sound bath, which I didn't know about. And I was laying there thinking, I don't really know what's happening, but this feels amazing and just feels different. And from that moment, that was how I discovered sound healing. And then, you know, it's that once you open up your awareness, or once you tune into something, which, you know, I talk about a lot, things start to appear, like those little golden breadcrumbs. And then I discovered a few people on Instagram that would do like 2-minute sound baths. And I thought, this is making me feel lovely and beautiful. And I don't know how and why, but I'm not going to question it, just making me feel good, which had been something that I hadn't been feeling for a while. So that vibration just felt like a big, warm, cozy hug. And then from then, I think it was about a year after, I went to my first sound bath to enjoy as a participant. Didn't really know what to expect, apart from I thought this is going to be really lovely. Yeah, and that kind of like sparked my sound adventures, really. I then started regularly going. So I had a regular practice. I'd go every month to enjoy sound. And it just helped me feel more at a place of ease. I felt like I could do life much better. I felt more peaceful. And even when the world throws those WTAF moments at you, I was like, it's okay. I'm going to go and play some healing frequencies in the background while I'm driving. Or it just brought me a beautiful feeling of peace. After I'd got over my first sound bath, where I found it really hard to lay still because I was so restless, and rest didn't come naturally to me then. So having to like lay down and, you know, think, welcome the sounds, I found it really tricky. And I remember the girl at the end, she's like, looked like you were doing gymnastics, like you kept wiggling around a lot. And I was like, yeah, but it was all the energy and all the stagnantness that needed to move through me. So I'm grateful that I persevered and went back and really nourished and absolutely loved it. Yeah, and then back to my spiritualness that is a huge part of me. I actually dreamt one night that I was like doing a sound bath, and I remember waking up thinking, I wonder if I could actually do this, you know. Like, I love it so much and I found it so transformative. I wonder if I would enjoy sharing that with people. And then as the universe works, you know, you just happen to find some training, and you know, it's a weekend that you can do it, and it's with someone that you think, they seem really nice, I'd like to spend time with them. And so I suppose where my new business and like that transformative life guiding sound healing is very much a reflection of my own sort of journey and my travels and what I've learn and experience more than anything. Because I think so often you can think, I need to learn another thing, I need to find out how to do it, when actually it's like your lived experience and your story is your qualification. And that's also something that I think we can find quite hard, because you think, well, no, I have to have that piece of paper that tells me I can do this. But we have that within us. Like, our life experience is our life experience. So Yeah, it's an amalgamation of all of the things and so much more, if that makes any kind of a answer to your question.
Of course it does. Of course it does. I just need to come back to two things before I forget them. You mentioned golden breadcrumbs. I thought that was just a beautiful analogy. And also, where you spoke about how our story and our lived experience is our qualification, that rang so true for me. And you can feel it, as you're saying that, as you're speaking it, we can feel how much depth there is there and how much lived experience. To think that you have helped and supported people for so long already through your nail business and can now do it at an even deeper level is just nothing short of inspirational. It's really exciting. So tell us the name of your business. We haven't even mentioned that yet.
My business is the Leopard Mind, because we've been told for years a leopard can't change their spots, but we absolutely can. And the power of that change so often begins in the mind, and it's within the body. And obviously I love leopard print, so it feels very appropriate that, a leopard can't change its spots, but you can, and I'm here to help you along your way.
I know we have many leopard print wearing listeners in the How Does She Do It community, so they'll be nodding along right now. Yeah, people that love Scamp and Dude and people that love mixing actually colour with leopard print. I've got loads of them that I can think of. So they are so on your vibration, which is just amazing. I've been really interested in the area of neuroplasticity over probably the last decade now. I've been learning more and more, and I know that this is something that really interests you and you're a real expert at, or a real expert in, I should say. You're the pro. Could you share some of your wisdom and observations on this topic? Because I don't think it's something that everyone necessarily knows about, but if you could explain it, I think it would make a lot of sense to them.
Absolutely. And it's something that I realized I have been doing, but I didn't appreciate. It sits under an incredible umbrella of neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity, which is always a bit of a tongue twister, is essentially like the capability that your brain has to be able to change. Like our brains are plastic and not elastic, which is something, there's an incredible I was going to say neurosurgeon, but she's not. She's a neuroplasticity expert. She's written an amazing book, Nicole Vignola, called Rewire. And I think knowing that our brains are malleable, knowing that you can create new habits, new pathways, that your brain is capable of change, I think can be so, once you realize how you are doesn't have to be how you are forever, that can be such an incredible kind of a light bulb moment, as well as it being massively overwhelming. But essentially, neuroplasticity is your brain's capability to change. But in order for it to change and for you to create lasting change, it needs that repetition. So if you go on the same walk every single day down the same footpath, you'll be able to do that with your eyes shut. You won't even need to think about where you're going. You might think, oh yeah, that's that sound, that's that doorbell, or you'll know where you are. It's that repetition. It's the things we do without thinking. But perhaps there's another pathway that could get you to your destination in a more timely manner, or in a more relaxing manner, or a more supportive manner, but that pathway isn't there yet. So we need to start to move and to essentially lay those bricks of our foundation for that new route that we want to travel down. And that can apply to anything, a new habit, a new hobby, a new experience. It could be anything. But essentially our brains are capable of change, which up until, I think it was even like a few decades ago, they didn't even realize that brains could change when you are a human. Like when you are fully functioning, adult in the 30s, 40s, 50s, they didn't realize that your brain had that capability, which I just find so fascinating. And there's so much work that's gone into getting to know and understand our brains. It's phenomenal. So I think for me, knowing that you have got that opportunity to change is incredible and can be applied to so many different things in life. And the other thing which can be supportive and also a bit of a, or almost that reassurance is that how long it can take to create that lasting change, to actually build that new footpath in your mind. You know, it can take anywhere from, I think it's 26 days up to like almost 365 days. So that's almost like your permission slip and that reason to sort of relax and soften your shoulders, that if you are trying to do a new habit, if you are trying to get up and not look at your phone first thing in the morning, if you are trying to perhaps, you know, stop drinking coffee, or all of the things that we do without thinking about, it's going to take you that amount of time to get there. So don't give up if you feel like the change isn't happening. No, you are laying those foundations, you are building brick by brick, and the progress is happening. But so often with small changes, with big life changes, it can feel like you're not making progress, but you are. So just like remember that things are happening, even when it doesn't feel like it is. Your new path is forming.
That's brilliant. And of course, we have been forming paths all our lives without even knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes it's about undoing a bad habit, which is going to take if it's taken a long time to embed, so it's going to take a long time to, you know, release as well, or replace with something else. And I think it speaks to affirmations as well, doesn't it? And, you know, I've been working with affirmations for a long time, and I say them most days, and there'll be times when I don't really believe them, but I still say them anyway, because I know that consistency it's going to pay off in the end. And actually, I feel one of those came true for me last night when I sang to an audience without any nerves. And you know that I've had a lot of anxiety and nerves throughout my life, and it's taken me until I'm 48 to sing in front of an audience without nerves. And I might slip back to being really nervous next time. But for me, that proves that all of my hard work has paid off. And I should imagine that neuroplasticity has played a massive part in that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And amazing. Congratulations to you for that, Jo. And also there is that power of affirmation. And with neuroplasticity, your mind doesn't know the difference between fact and fiction. So if you're telling it every day, I can sing in front of people. I believe I can. I believe in myself. I can do new and different things. If you tell yourself that, the more that repetition, your mind suddenly starts thinking, oh, hang on, she told me this yesterday. Well, maybe I need to pay attention to that. And you say it again, and you're like, oh yeah, we do this. We do believe we can do this. Like, we trust in ourselves, we can do this. But if you're telling yourself, you know, like I did for a long time, oh, you couldn't possibly leave your job. Oh no, you need to secure this, that, and the other. Oh no, but that's for other people. Like that embedded in my head. So I kept thinking, I really want to leave corporate and work for myself. But I was telling myself, oh no, you can't do that. It's really hard. That's not going to work. And obviously, the more you're enforcing whatever it is you're telling yourself, your brain is listening. It can't filter out the fact and the fiction. So please, with my biggest pom-pom cheers, tell yourself you can way before you feel and you know that you're ready. I did this for such a long time, and it was such a huge part in me actually building that courage, because I had to start telling myself I could and I will and I'll find a way before I truly, truly believed that.
Yeah. I love that you got your cheerleading pom-poms out there as well. We've all got to support each other. And I think that your story that you're sharing with us today is such brilliant evidence for people to really start making some changes in their lives. And don't forget, you can contact Gabi and get in touch about working together, because sometimes we can't do these things on our own without the support, without the encouragement, the accountability, and of course, all of the tools that you bring to your clients as well. Thank you. That was so interesting. One thing I'm a massive believer in, mainly because I feel it so much these days, is the power of our vibration. And you already touched on vibration earlier, but I believe that not everyone necessarily knows very much about it. So would you mind, it's like I'm getting you to teach us lots today, would you mind explaining a little around what vibration is and how beneficial it can be when it's the right kind?
Yeah, absolutely. And vibration has been a huge part as well in my journey and building myself up to be able to take that courageous step, which I will get to. But yeah, essentially, you all know how you feel when you walk into a room, if it feels good or if it doesn't. Or sometimes, if you go to a party, not that I do anymore, but in those days where you walked into a buzzy atmosphere, you'd think, oh, something feels good, something doesn't. But essentially, vibration is everything, and everything is vibration. It comes from, I don't know if you've heard of the Hermetic principles. There's 7 Hermetic principles, and one of them is the principle of vibration, which talks to the fact that nothing rests. Everything is vibration and everything is always moving. And these principles have been written about in 1908, so they've been around for a long time. But essentially, everything is vibration. Everything moves at a different frequency. And when we are feeling good, feeling aligned to ourselves, feeling, like you've had a really good chat with your friend, or you've just had your favorite hot cup of tea uninterrupted, like you feel good. So I try to think of, if vibration doesn't feel like it fits and it feels a bit off in the distance, or it doesn't really make sense, think of how you feel when you're feeling good. Like you feel elevated, you might stand a little bit taller, you might smile to yourself while you're making your tea. Like vibration is essentially how you feel when you're feeling good. And as much as that is great when you're feeling good, we also know those days when we wake up and we feel a bit like, and you just, like, something's just not quite right. That is also your vibration talking to you. That is your body, like, communicating with you. It's your environment. Is there really loud, noisy, jarring music outside, like someone's just parked their car? Is there someone's raised voices? That affects the vibration. And we are vibrational beings, so we are impacted by that, which what makes it even more important in this huge big world of all of the things at the moment to really focus on feeling good. And that can feel like such a disconnect and such a not good thing to do when things aren't always great. But the more you can uplift yourself and bring yourself to a point of good vibration, that ripples out across everybody. The people that you might live with, the people you see in the supermarket. Vibrational ripples essentially ripple all the way around the world. And the more we can tune into that goodness, the more we can lift our hearts to that, like, vibration of love, even if we're not feeling it, even if it's something we might not have experienced. If you can tune into that gentleness and that higher vibration, it's like the ripples can be, it's so expansive.
So expansive. So would you recommend, just having heard you describe it like that was really useful to me, would you recommend maybe having a little post-it note on the fridge of even 3 or 5 things that really light you up? Or even if it's a memory, perhaps. Would a memory work?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because for your mind, it knows it's happened, it's seen it, it's experienced it. So when you go to that memory of a perfect chilled glass of wine on the last day of your holiday while you watch the sunset, that is going to bring back those feelings, the emotions, that vibration that you were in. You're going to start resonating at that feeling ooey gooey and really happy. So if you're in that moment of not feeling ooey gooey, really happy, and you can bring your mind to that feeling and that memory, that is going to work its wonders on you without you having to do anything aside from bring your attention to that thought.
Yeah. And I think that by having the prompt, because when you are feeling a bit flat or a bit off, a bit tired, and you want to do something and you want it to be natural, just to be able to glance at that little list, it's instantaneous.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. That brings me on to my next question, which was around the journey that you've been on and the self-belief that we have heard throughout this conversation today that you have been working on and building and evolving over these years. It really is incredible to hear. And I would love for you to share, what does self-belief mean to you? And how can building our self-belief really benefit us as human beings?
Ooh, juicy question, Joe. I think self-belief essentially it's what everything comes down to. Like as a beautiful human being, if you don't believe you can do something, you are not going to do it. Well, it's unlikely that you will. If you don't believe in yourself, you're perhaps not going to make that phone call. You won't reply to that email. You won't go to that event. You'll tell yourself it's not possible before you've even given yourself the opportunity to believe impossible. And I think we don't live in a world where we're encouraged to believe in us. We're not encouraged to love ourselves. We were all at school and someone was like, oh yeah, she really loves herself. And you look at that now and I think, blooming heck, that's amazing. I love that she had the courage and the confidence to believe in herself and parade so confidently around the playground, but it's like they had it all right. And I think self-belief is such a huge, huge piece, and it's probably impacted so many of us. But really starting to believe in ourselves is where the magic happens. And even if we don't feel it, even if we don't believe it, if we've never been shown how, or we've never seen it's possible for people like us, start telling yourself you can and start believing in you. Because when you get to know yourself and get to know yourself at a deeper level and start shaking your own pom-poms and cheering for yourself before anybody else, that's when you start thinking, oh, maybe I could do that. Or maybe that is a possibility for me. Perhaps I will buy that book at last that I've been avoiding reading because I know it's going to crack me open and it's going to give me exactly what I need. Buy the book, read the book. I've avoided and done that a few times in my life. It's really, having that courage in yourself, even when you don't feel it. And I think if I could share anything, it would be to really start believing in you and start being your own hype girl, because you're amazing and you're incredible and you probably don't even realise how much sparkle is inside of you.
Beautiful. I'm sitting up straighter myself here and I'm imagining people listening to this, whether they're out on the dog walk, I can see them starting to kind of strut with a little bit of swagger, or if they're sitting down, sitting up straight and really listening and going, yeah, I'm here for this, Gabi. I am here for it. And so what one simple thing would you encourage the listener to do today to start creating change in their life, especially if they haven't got a lot of money to put towards it, or if they haven't got a load of time as well, because everyone's very time poor, but I don't believe that it has to cost a fortune or take a long time. What one thing would you recommend these powerful women to start with today?
One thing is really tricky, so I'm going to make it 3 one things.
I
I feel like the one thing is to make the decision.
Yeah.
Step out of indecision, like decide this is my time. I'm going to go for it and go for it. And go for it by focusing on feeling good. Like focus on you. If you want to create big change in your life, there's no point changing all of the things if you are still in the place where you don't want to be. And you might not feel, you might have all of the things. So you might not, your body and your mind might be so occupied it's not ready for that big change, but you are ready. So focus on feeling good. Start tuning into your vibration. Start playing music that makes you feel amazing. Buy your favourite tea bags. Go for a walk when you can, even if it's 2 minutes and you park the car further away in the supermarket. Like, take that time. So make the decision and focus on feeling good. And get curious, listen to a different podcast, listen to some different music, cook another recipe, do something simple. It doesn't have to be big. So make the decision, focus on feeling good and get curious and make it fun, make it lighthearted. You don't have to have it all the answers.
Brilliant. I remember when we bumped into each other when we went up to London to see
Kirsty Gallagher.
I was about to say another name. When we went up to see Kirsty Gallagher and brilliantly bumped into each other, it was just perfect. And that was the one thing that I took away. The biggest thing I took away from Kirsty Gallagher that night was around indecision being the biggest blocker in our lives and development. And so I'm really glad you've brought that up, because that hit me between the eyes, because I spend so long deliberating. So thank you. I heard it from her, but I've now heard it from you again, which is the universe telling me, yeah, you need to listen this time, Jo. So thank you for all, from me and from my listeners, for those 3 brilliant and such achievable little first steps to take. Thank you so much. Now, we're coming to the end of our conversation, which always makes me slightly sad, but I've loved everything that we've shared. But I do want to ask you 3 more questions. The first one is, what is the toughest thing for you about working for yourself?
Oh, this is a tricky one. I think just you being the business. Essentially, if nothing happens, if nothing happens. And yes, there are incredible supports out there and you don't physically have to do everything yourself. But when you're in that early days of business and getting started, quite often everything comes to you. So I think, the sheer volume of all of the areas, which in hindsight, when I was in my career, I always felt like I needed to be a specialist in one thing. I always called myself a bit of a jack of all trades, but I was so grateful for that when it came to my career as being self-employed and doing all of the things. So yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. I completely relate to that one. And what is the best thing about working for yourself?
Being able to create your own calendar. That sounds really boring, but create my own space. Like, I very much have a flexible way of working, in the sense of I won't work every day. I work in line with what's happening with astrology. I work in line with the moon, and being able to have that, I suppose, opportunity to decide, right, I know I'm going to be really slow on that Monday. I'm going to block that day out, knowing it's that time and I'm definitely going to be extra tired, so I'm going to finish my day earlier. So yeah, having that freedom around when I work is probably one of my favourite things.
And the word freedom is just so expansive and such a beautifully powerful word. That's great. It's also reminded me to never stop taking that for granted, because, I'm very lucky to be able to sort of weave and wend my schedule with my commitments, my energy levels and what have you. But it's always worth reminding ourselves every now and then that it wasn't always like this. And it might still not be like this if we hadn't been bold and, left the career, the corporate, and everything that came with it. So that's absolutely brilliant. Now, my final question that I ask every time on the podcast is around the name of my business, being how does she do it? Because I don't believe that she does do all the things all the time. And so what do you do, or perhaps don't do these days, to ensure that you do remain on track, healthy and happy in your life?
I avoid my phone for at least an hour or 2 in the morning when I get up, so I can feel like I'm coming to the day clear-headed and in my own energy and ready to go. So I can be more focused and fresh. So I can give more of myself when I'm with people. And I also stretch in the morning, whether it's 3 minutes on my yoga mat, literally doing a few salutations, or dream case scenario, I will go for a short walk in the morning for sure. And then I have my phone on do not disturb mode in the evenings, so that I will leave my phone in another room so I can recharge and be more effective the next day. And this is something that hasn't always come easy, but I'm getting much better at it and I'm feeling the benefits so much more. So feeling more rested for less technology, more fresh air and movement.
Brilliant. What an incredible advert you are. I absolutely love that. And, you walk your talk, Gabi, and you are the most beautiful, beautiful shining light of a soul as well. And I'm just so happy to have introduced you to my listeners today. I was also incredibly grateful that you were a guest speaker for me at our Epsom networking recently. And that we've worked together in the past, and you did nails at my events when we used to offer pampering as well. I have so much gratitude and so much admiration for you. I feel so very blessed that we met. I just love everything you've shared today. And just going back to what I was starting to say there, and I've gone off on a bit of a tangent, I just know that people are going to be listening today and they're going to think, Gabi is someone I need to start following. Gabi is someone that I need alongside me as my cheerleader to lead me. You know, having the Leopard Mind to work with, it just sounds incredible. And so please let us know where we can track you down online should people want to make contact and get inquisitive around all your offerings.
Absolutely. So you can find me over on Instagram at the Leopard Mind. Look for the bright pink leopard print and you will find me there. I try and be there most days to give you a little cheer, whether it's, that morning encouragement to remember to pause and look out your window if you've been staring at your screen. So I love to sprinkle that throughout my socials. You can find me over at the website, leopardmind.com. I host monthly sound baths as well in person in Caterham, South Croydon and the surrounding areas, and also going to be doing sound for like corporate wellness events and retreats and things. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And you can sign up to the Leopard Pages, which is my newsletter, which I send out sort of every month. So if you would like a little sprinkle of joy in your inbox, come and sign up you can find that, on the website or on socials.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you again for just sharing so much beautiful wisdom with us today. I'm feeling completely recharged having had this time with you, and I hope that you've enjoyed it as well.
Thank you so much, Jo. It's been amazing and really appreciate the opportunity, and also so grateful, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. And I love how synchronistic things can be, that we met at a time of new beginnings for me with my nail business. You were newly, bringing your East Surrey networking, and it just feels really beautiful and aligned that we've sort of reunited again, and excited for where this is going to take both of us and all of your lovely listeners. So
Wonderful. We look forward to witnessing your journey as it continues to evolve. And I thank you again for coming. Take care.
Thanks so much, Jo.
Thank you so much for listening today. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, I'd love you to take a moment to share and subscribe too. Come and join me over at How Does She Do It Life on both Facebook and Instagram. And until we speak again, I wish you a wonderful week ahead.